Patrick.
Hello, Pavel.
Actually, I can't connect using my TCP client
Yes.
to Alpha server.
Yes, the same for me. Yeah. So.
And it's a problem because we record all our session with voice and video.
Okay.
So it's a problem to record.
I'm recording.
Okay.
Vlad will record this session because he uses ICM user.
Who you said?
Vlad will record this session. He uses CV user.
Okay.
So and this type of user works.
Okay. Is there someone else will try to connect?
No, we need to send you a link to another member of team.
Okay, I can.
We will send, I think.
Okay. So I'll wait a bit more for the other people to connect.
Okay.
Что-то не могу линк найти. Я что открыл-то вообще?
Я сейчас тебе отправлю.
Это который в расписании?
Нет, новый. Может быть, это... Мне Патрик прислал. Сейчас. Я в группу написал. Patrick, do you know what is the problem on Alpha?
No. I saw that the AMS, so the was done, and I suppose it should be okay since they restarted it. Let's have a look. No, it's difficult to have people on the phone when there are problem on the Alpha. So, I'm having a look on the Alpha directly to see.
Ставь наушники просто без микрофона. Телефон.
Everything seems to be started on the Alpha, I don't understand.
Sorry?
Everything seems to be started on the Alpha, so I don't understand. Okay. You tell me when it is okay for you. Is there
Okay. Yeah.
It is okay for you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I propose to start the transfer session of one of my tool, which is a tool developed on using .NET technology. So this tool is the goal of this tool is to test our REST API, which I started in 3 years ago approximately. This tool has been manually is manually maintained, so that I add new feature every time we add a new feature on server side. So it could have been automated, but since it's just a quick tool for testing, so I stay on a manual development environment. The repository is here. So perhaps that's why Vladislav, you haven't found it. It's on the public Mercurial repository. So I'll put on the slide, no problem. So you can find on this repository, you can find several projects which are not directly linked to a product. Okay, that's more or less the proof of concept and other tools, things like that. So I think the mobiles, Android, are on that repository. So that's mine, just here, OTC PC, OTC Windows, and there's a few other things. Don't ask me which one are maintained or not. Quite a lot of OTC PC in that public repository. I added the URL of the repository on in my slides, so no problem, you will have it. Okay, so PC. Windows, so that's one. So as you see, we are mostly 2 people working on this project. Well, we used to be 2 people, me who started it, and then some people from the mobile team, the one developing Android, the smartphone, and one apprentice, Joseph, took my project to port the application on the Windows Phone. So we made some adaptation to make sure that my application, my software was working on PC, but also on a Windows Phone. For that, I needed to adapt my project to something called a universal Windows platform, which is a way of saying that the DLL should work in any target environment. So that's the biggest adaptation I made, which has some impact on the dependencies on the project, because some DLL, some project, you must switch to a lighter version just to be sure it works in any environment. So we are going to see it. First of all, for the slides, I prepare just 2 or 3 slides on the subject. Okay. That was for the tools. I'll come back on the tools a bit later. So as I say, this is .NET user interface tool that I started approximately 3 years ago. This is used, as I said, to test. While I was doing the development on the server side, I just made a quick and dirty client to test it, because I'm quite a lazy guy. I prefer one click than many other way of testing things. The project has been split at the beginning into 2 projects, one common DLL and one user interface binary. As I said, it has been ported to Universal Windows platform. So you need a .NET higher or equal to 4.6 on the PC to run it. Just because it's the minimum version for Universal Windows platform. As I said, it is on Mercurial, as I showed you, but the proof of concept on mobile phone has been stopped because I think Microsoft is no longer interested in developing Windows and smartphones, as I heard. So I'm still maintaining the C version, so that's all for my tool. So it's more or less up to date to the server side. So it's supposed to work in any version, but it's more or less up to date. My development environment is quite simple. It's a Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition. You don't need to pay for that. You need a .NET 4.6 on your PC, and it's quite a dirty way of providing the binary to the user. It's just a zip of the build directory. So it's quite dirty, but I don't need to make it more clean. This is just for internal clients, so it's used mostly by integration validation team in Brest. It's used by front-end people in Brest too, and it's used by mobile team also in Ilkirch, who said they like to which will give a direct answer to a request to REST web services, to make sure it's not their application that is faulty, but it's the server. So that's all. It could be port on Visual Studio 2017, which is just out officially, I think. It's the same community edition. If you need to upgrade to a more recent version, no problem. As I said, the user interface is awful. When I say awful, it's intentionally not very nice, not very fashion. It's a very old style. The goal was for me to provide an easy click and go program to test the feature. How it looks like that. So a very basic inform application with the list of services on the tree on the left, some feature-oriented tab on the top, and one big console for the logs, which has some extra contextual menu. To start it, you just provide the host name, the login, the password, GUI password. Just start, click on session. It will open a framework session, and subscribe to the event. By default, there's a list of events built, but it can be overridden. Okay. So, for example, if we start one session, the goal also is there's no connection. It can be used as a client if you want, but there's no. It's only third-party call control. So I don't have any zip stack embedded in that. So, for example, if I start, if I look at my build directory. That's the name. So this is how I deliver. This is just a zip of all the DLL. Oh, sorry. I'm not on a good screen. What I deliver is just a zip of this folder, which is my build folder, and that's all. So if I want to create an instance, so this is how it works. I can start one client. For example, on my test platform. So host, login, password. Before opening a framework session, I can see all the settings. There's quite a lot of settings. I try to group them. It's not very nice. The name of the user agent, the timeout for framework session. No, this is the timeout for REST request response. And a few options that are useful in test environment, because each time I face a new case, I try to put an option to be able to fall in that case or not. So whether the tool should use the private URL or the public URL, whether it should use the HTTP instead of HTTPS when possible. As you will see the design, there are some handlers per feature, which holds all the feature service. And for administrator session, do I select all the logins or not? Then during authentication phase, there's several options also. I can ask not to use a single sign-on, and I will use an authentication URL which will not redirect me. I can skip authentication if I have already a cookie identifying me, or I can reuse the previous cookie. So that's several options that are not selected by default that could meet a case of authentication problems, perhaps. When I open a framework session, I have to give an application name. You will see that, I think, with Michel, when you will transfer the Chameleon, you will see that the framework session needs an application name to be identified. If I open an administrator session, I can give the login of a user I want to supervise. So you will see with Michel's session that framework session can be of 3 types. One user session, one administrator session where you want to supervise a user. That means you give the user login at session creation, and you will be acting exactly as the user. Or you can stay in administrator session and give a delegate account. So that means just on the fly, you can give I want to invoke that operation for that user. So 3 ways of creating a framework session. The session has a lifetime, which is by default half an hour. So it needs to be refreshed regularly. It's more or less called the restart session timer in some SOAP operation. So you can override this until I want a session refresh every blah, blah, blah. And if it's 0, I think it use the default time to live. Okay. Then for notification channel, we use HTTP chunk to be notified of it. As we will see in the code, there are other ways to be notified, but they will stay at the level of proof of concept, something like WebSocket. But the default one is HTTP chunk, where it can be as a chunk, or it can be also as a chunk multipart. It's a way of mixing JSON and XML events, in fact. It is used by mobile phones when they have to switch from SOAP web services to REST web services. They wanted one event channel which can support both events, the time of the transition between SOAP to REST. So we kept that. The default format is JSON. If it's compatible 7x, there's a list of events that are in old XML formats. Okay. And the chunk channel has some parameters like the timeout, the number of retries for my tools before disconnecting. And chunk keep alive is a way of sending message regularly to the server, to the server sending us to see if we are alive or not. The filter is more or less the list of events we want to subscribe to. So the events in Chameleon can be either the name, precise name of the event, or it can be the name of the package. For example, the well-known package is telephony, which has a lot of events which are call-oriented. The call modified, call created, call removed, and all other stuff. So I try to list here for each package which events they group. Of course, if a user wants to add another event, no problem. Or remove one event, just having notification about one event, no problem. Here there's an option saying build subscription on the fly. That means when I will connect and retrieve all the list of supported services at REST API, I will then build the filter depending on what I found as a service. If I see that there's a telephony, I will take the event of telephony. If I see there's some routing, I will take the event of routing. So that's the goal of this option. And there are some debug options which are just controlling the way the log is, what is in the log there, which is do you put the HTTP header. So the console is quite useful when someone says there's a bug in your API, I can't use it, so you just make a copy paste and you can check with him, which is often the case with Russian validation team, Tatiana Gindish and so on. We have some exchange on the using that tool, so I try to provide some logs using that tool, showing that hey, it works for me. So okay, so that's the options. The tools, there are some extra user interface that are not really nice, and that I wanted to port in this tablet user interface. So if we connect, so it loads all the handlers, as we will see later. So it loads all the service requests on telephony, on Comlog. That means we are going to authenticate first. So there's a authenticate. We open a session with the application name provided. Okay. Then we have all the requests of the supported services, REST supported services. So starting with the service name, a version, and at which URL it can be found. Then I load the user specific information, like give me all your user information, give me all your events, your comlog, all your telephony, all your routing state, the presence also. Well, everything I can extract. If I have a corresponding handler that can hold this data, I ask him. So the answer is all the user information, the event summary, this is the comlog. Okay, quite a lot of things. And okay, so when all the services are loaded, I'll try to create one entry there on the left. So this is directly linked to a data handler for the specific entry. So for example, on the user, I have all the operation for getting the user data. So I can invoke it manually. So I can, for example, search for another user, give me user B2 user data. So I can even set some preferences, like, for example, set I want my default sign-in status to be online or busy. Change it. Okay. So if I get it, it's now busy. Okay, what else can I do? All the device. I see all the device. There are some actions, extra action. I can say that my default devices, my default outgoing devices is my VHE, my IC touch at the moment. What else can I do? I can see the server information, the cookie collected, all the session capabilities, all the service, which is a bit duplicated information for what I have in tree there. And all the services I have, for example, conference, voicemail. Here I haven't opened the chunk notification channel yet, so I can read. I clear my log. I can then subscribe. I subscribe with that login. I'm a user only, so I'm only allowed to subscribe with my login. So this is the subscription filter I send with my session ID as identifier and all the events I'm subscribing to. Okay. So now there's one notification channel open. So if I do the same as I did, change collaboration preference back to online. Now I receive an event. My preference has changed for me, login A2, and my collaboration was set to online. Okay. Why is there extra operation? It's because in the handlers, perhaps I haven't finished part of the job, and I prefer resynchronizing by requesting the service instead of being driven by the event. So it does not have any impact except extra traffic on the web service. What else can I do? That's the event summary. So I try to update also all the, depending the service where we are, I try to update either the list of the event received and also a few key counters like the number of comlog entry, the number of unread or unacknowledged comlog entry, the number of calls if there's some active calls, the number of deferred message, and the number of voice message. So it's not very nice, it could be somewhere else, but it's more or less a quick and dirty tool, so not a problem. So this is general handler view, I would say. There are more specific actions that can be done in my telephony. For example, if I start another tool, another instance of the tool for B2, okay, there's something about waiting, I don't know why. Well, so B2 is also one user of my platform. I can make, for example, a call, 3PCC call. In the tab telephony, I just make from this device call 32 22020. That's Bob. And a few options. Bob is not available. Why? Hold on, Bob is at the routing. So perhaps Bob has a forward on a selected. Okay. So Bob is routed to just 1 second, please. Okay, I will see. I will take C2. For testing REST API, of course, there are many tools. Let's call Carol. Oh, I have a telephone problem on my platform. Okay. So I should see here the call. I don't know why. Okay, in that way it works. So I am ringing there, so I can take the call directly. So that means my two IC touch are in communication on my platform, and I can do all the extra action like hold. So that means both states are refreshed on all sides. Retrieve. Can even do all the extra operation, redirect, untransfer, and so on.
Вот где вот он был, когда я его тестировал?
Okay. For the comlog, I can do the action, the classical action, like I can acknowledge or delete this one. That means that the comlog entry has been acknowledged, seen as read. I can of course delete, and I have of course the event. Okay. For the voicemail, that's all in fact. I think there's not much action on a comlog. For the voicemail, there is quite a lot of action. For the voicemail, since I implemented the web services, I focus mostly on voicemail. So you will find all the operation of get the mailbox, get information of the default mailbox, get all voicemails that will reload here, what we see here, in fact. And I can do some player action. The player action is play that the selected voicemail on the default phone. But I can also play locally. That means get the URL of the message and play on my PC. I can pause while I'm playing, stop. I can also record. So this is on the default phone. I can select another phone number. So playing with all the record, and then I can send or forward all the I can send the voice message called a draft to a user or a list of users. For example, if I send to send to and I can take a wave HTTP. That's one of the waves I'm using for test. So I should receive on C2 that message indicating, yeah, there's new voice message just received. Okay, com log voice message. Just now, yeah, that's the one. So this one is an Exchange 2007 user. So the ID is a bit special, as I said, during mask transfer.
Patrick, sorry, I didn't catch how do you receive new message after recording without active session?
I send a wave. In fact, there's several ways to send a voice message. So either you can record it. In fact, you can record it. So it's what we call a draft message. So the draft message, when you say send, when you use that operation send without providing anything instead of the URL. If you can you see the text just below URL? Yeah. URL of the voice message is to send. If empty, it's the record you just made that will be sent. If it's not empty, that means there's another invocation of the web service. You just provide an URL of the voice message you want to send. Okay, it's exact. Instead of picking up the URL in the draft box, you pick it up in the URL you provide. So that's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay, I see.
It's called, hold on. When you go to API description on, not REST, if you go on server side, hold on. You have the API. You have the API documentation on the server directly. So if I use the SOAP service ICS messaging, in fact, I'm invoking the send. The send is to send a recorded message. Okay, so the send. The send is to send a recorded message, and the send IVM is to send a previously recorded message by giving its URL, in fact. So I'm just playing on these two operations. Okay. So if we switch to REST services, messaging, that's the REST API documentation. Send a recorded message, that's the one I'm using. And as I said, if send message request, So that's what I'm doing. I'm sending a send message request with the URL, if specified, send the given URL instead of the newly recorded message. Okay, Pavel? Yeah?
Yeah, thank you.
So that's what I'm doing there. Can even forward. Greeting is not working on my platform. I should have that. This user has, I have misconfigured the user. So you have all the list of the greetings. Greetings looks very similar to voice messages, in fact. So you have more or less the same operation. You can activate a greeting, get all greetings, just to see if they are activated, recorded or recordable. Some are not recordable sometimes. And you can either save a new wave for a given greeting, like if you were recording a greeting, okay, and you just activated. And some extra also functions I have made to see my if my presence is changing. For example, for the moment, my presence is I am online, basic online, so I can, if I change it, my presence, I can change my presence, say basic busy, for example. So I have, my presence was changed to basic busy. Should update that. I can load the contact. No, that's, sorry. This is not working, don't know why.
Is it presence related with ACS? So this presence related with ACS. So do you request on ACS server?
I go to our REST API. The REST API goes to the ECS component that you will have it will be transferred next week, I think, by Jean-Yves Plassard. And the ECS communicates with the ACS using the SIPCC protocol.
Okay.
Okay. So quite a lot of layers between. Another thing using ACS is, of course, the conference. So this is using our REST API, of course. I create a conference with a few parameters. This goes, of course, to a REST API, then goes to the ECS, and the ECS use, depending what it needs, it use SIPCC or VCS protocol. Okay. In that case, it's VCS protocol to create the conference. Okay. This is not used. The conference come quite late on our REST API, and I think it came too late for being used by clients. I think they are still using either ACS API directly, or I don't know. Okay. So all the events I receive with that tool are there. So it can be a tool to monitor also the activity on the server. So you can even create your connect to your account on Alpha to see that there is a problem on Alpha. This is what I do sometimes. This is one account I have on Alpha, so I can connect on the Alpha. So you can see that apparently it works. So I don't understand why our OTCPC is not working. Okay, what else can I show before switching to the project? So as you can see, it's quite quick, direct on quite dirty things. There's a few things inside the log that I added for helping me debug. There's one which is the decoding of the framework session ID, just in case I open a session as administrator and I don't have the user password. So if you right click on this, you can decode the framework session ID, which gives me that I am C2 and this is my password, and it has been created at that date. Okay.
Very useful feature.
Pardon?
A very useful feature.
Yeah. So it proves it's not very secure.
Yes.
So, I can also. Okay, there's other things like for debug oriented, I can select, for example, some JSON, and I send it to my like a kind of pretty print in the browser, which will make something like that. So it helps going quickly, as mostly when you go to com logs. If you get the com logs, so it can be quite useful to read because it's quite heavy. If I say, make me a pretty print of that, so I can have a com log with a structure JSON format. So you just need a plugin in Firefox to do that. But, okay. What else can I show? Presence for this also an quite also another dirty tool, which is the instant messaging chat. I can create a session. Okay, I can then add some participant in it. Say A2. That adds the participant. So this uses ECS also, which use then the ACS to create the session. Still use SIPCC. So the session is created. I can send message. So if I open the same window on the other side, I will see the IM. That's okay. So I have the message received there. Okay. A simple IM user interface. Okay. Not very nice because I store all the sessions in one window. I could have make one Windows per session. Okay. What else do we have? The routing user interface is not nice at all, and I will perhaps it's quite ugly, so I will perhaps try to simplify it and add it at that location. So, but routing is quite a complex subject, so they made it quite difficult with a lot of profiles, a lot of destination routes, and so it's not easy to represent as a testing tool. Not as an end user, but as a testing tool, it's not easy to represent. And that's more or less what I've got. This is not implemented. There's a kind of REST API pad where you can invoke all supported operations. For example, devices. I can make a get. So I can add some extra JSON in it for making a request. Okay, ugly that one. And that's more or less what I can do. To the event, okay, all the new things, and that's it. So all the operations are available on all services there, but they are also available and a bit more user-oriented on that window. So you will find nearly the same operation. Okay. Okay, so now if we switch to the code, let it open, no problem. We'll start up Visual Studio 2015. We will okay. So the solution is called the OpenTouch REST API solution. If we go to the repository, in my local repository, Mercurial, OpenTouch, OTCPC. The solution contains some of my projects and some of the projects used by the Windows mobile application. So this one is a sample application, just used as a code sample of how to use our REST API. So not much in it. I think it's just make a simple call, make call, take call, and release call using REST API. So I think it is provided in the REST API documentation as a sample. The two next projects, OTC Task and OTC Windows, are projects specific to mobile phones team. Then I am concerned with the three next projects. OT REST API common is the common DLL we share between PC and mobile phone. Well, in fact, this is the old version, and the new version. This is the old version with Universal Windows platform, but it's no longer maintained. And the newer shared project being compatible with PC and mobiles is the OT REST Common API PCL, which is Portable Common Library. Then in red also OT REST Client is OTC, the PC version, and this can be ignored. I shouldn't have created it. Visual Studio is using, I don't know if some of you are familiar with Visual Studio. There's many ways of managing dependencies, and I'm using, how is it called?
NuGet?
Pardon?
NuGet?
NuGet, yeah, that's it. Thank you. So I'm using NuGet off. I see that you know Visual Studio environment. So I'm using NuGet to resolve the dependencies and add a few packages. So we had some difficulties to find a REST, an easy to use REST library that was compatible with Universal Windows platform. So we finished using the REST sharp port being made by someone to be compatible for portable common library. And we also suffered a bit for finding a logging that was light enough and compatible for mobiles and for PC environment. We ended up choosing the common logging for portable. So this one, REST Sharp, is just used for the old common library normally. And there's been some tries to use zip sorcery. I wanted to implement it, the zip stack, so it's not taken in account. And there's also a WebSocket notifier that is not. It was a proof of concept. It works, but we haven't implemented on server side. So that's for it, and that's it. So I think the more guys are using directly projects. I don't know, they have a solution. Don't think so. Task Windows. Yes, they have their own solution just there. So if we come back now to the project, Visual Studio 2015, as I said, so this is the code sample, not much in it, just a basic OpenTouch REST client. What it does is just, I think there's a main somewhere, or the program is making the main. It's just for demo, okay? So just to make connection to the API, framework API, for one user, and for the other, then making a call from user 1 to user 2. After a while, just take the call. There's no event in that version. So, and after a while, we drop the call, and that's all. So that's the demonstration of how to use it. And well, as you can see, we just used the REST library to build a request and send it and execute it, wait for the answer. So this is synchronous call, which is absolutely not compatible for importable common library. So that's why we had to switch to asynchronous REST framework. That's the biggest change from the old common library to the new common library, is mostly porting to asynchronous mechanism. So just the demo, you can ignore this project, so I will unload it from the solution. So this is the old version. I keep it just a while, just in case of problem. And the new share DLL is that one. So quite a simple project. So just building not much things. So okay. So how the code is organized in that common library? There's one configuration object which has some attributes just to describe what they are used for. I will use this descriptor just in my user interface to extract the documentation of the attribute. Okay, that's what you see. That's the comment you will see in the settings. In that that's the comment when I go hovering over a solution, I see the description. That's what I extract just here. Okay. So as I said, many options. So I think they are all exposed in the user interface. Some default values and then I try to. That's all the technical objects, starting with the events. So that's an event base. All the events. All the events are declared there for deserialization. The OT events is the OT event is the base class for all the events in OpenTouch. So for me, in fact, all of them in OpenTouch contain the login name, and I added some extra information about the name just to have easy deserialization. So, for example, comlog events contains com record, so it has a record. It has, of course, the login name or event login name. and so on. So just describing the event. More complex event is telephony events, I suppose. Yeah. The call created, you have, of course, the call ref, call data, and so on. Full description of the event there. You have also all the technical objects from the model. For example, in that communication log model, I need some objects to be deserialized, like a com history record. So it has a record ID, com ref, and so on, the date, and some attachment, things like that. Yeah. So for all subjects, for all features, all the technical objects are there, model, and so on. Okay. There are some utility class for processing annotation I've put, serializing, deserializing, and so. And this is for this is for WebSocket deserialization. I use that thing. And the most important in that library is the handler. The handlers all inherit from a base handler, which is in charge of finding all the URL where the service can be invoked, where we log all the requests, build all the requests, things like that. And then if we take a simple handler, like for example, comlog handler. So when I create this handler, I try to maintain the data. If I am asked to maintain the data under the responsibility of the handler, I will store all the com records, for example. So each time I connect, I get the com log. If there's an event coming, HTTP chunk event, I will either update the com log, the local com log, trying to clear. If it's modify, acknowledge, I will put acknowledge of my cache of com log entry, and so on and so on. So one part which is maintaining a copy of the data under the responsibility of that handler. So the other part is all the invocation, all the method invocation that I can do in that handler. That will be the operation that are visible in that tree there. So the com log, for example, this is exactly this operation, because I'm able to see by annotation which I should expose as useful for the user interface. So using this annotation, this is part of the REST service. It has the query parameters and so on. So the tool will then extract this and put that in that tree. Okay. Dominique Kodal, the guy you had this morning, made a tool for SOAP web services a long time ago, but this is an automatic tool, so it takes the WSDL from the server and it generates that user interface automatically by parsing the WSDL. So you will see that it's a very interesting tool. I didn't want it to go that way because I want to test in all conditions the API. So that means I want to be able to invoke non-existing operation or bad parameter of operation. That's why I prefer staying on manual update of my tool. And I want to use to put user interface that can easily go and click on it. A web service implementation, that's all the operation. Okay, and that's more or less all for the common library. Okay. Yes, there's one last thing in the common library, and it's not a very nice part of code. It's the chunk client. This is the HTTP client, so we are listening those. There's a big part of parsing the chunk, depending if it's only JSON, if it's multi-part. Do we have to extract XML? Do we have to extract JSON? So there's quite a lot of things depending the case. This is our old version. This is a new version. Not very nice, but at least it works. Okay. And that's all for the common library. And the other application is a very standard WinForm application, the RESTAPIclient. It has some configuration data that is stored in an XML file when the application starts and saved in it when you modify it in the option page. And when you leave the application, it is also saved. So you can define either accounts for some existing machine. So you will find these. You will find these in that list here, in fact. All successful login are saved, in fact. Except from the configuration data, the application is organized as an extended configuration. Just extend the basic configuration we saw previously for user interface oriented data. So, because the common library doesn't care about multiple accounts, in fact. So we store it in user interface part. Then for the user interface, graphical user interface, there's one more class, one main class, which is that one. So basically quite in a dirty way. There's many context menu tool script a bit everywhere. We'll call back just to call RESTAPIclient or to call. It's made quite a lot of code, but as I said, it's a quick and dirty tool. So okay. So that's all interface. So some interface have been ported to that tab menu windows. There are as an option there. Option, for example. No, not option. User component. User component. So user component for voicemail looks like that. So one contextual menu, and that's it. So of course, when I click on it, I just invoked one instance of the REST API client, and I just find the handler, and I get the message, and that's all. And then when I do that, I invoke the handler, and the handler will get the mailbox, and the mailbox getting it will. We will generate events once done. We will generate events that will be voicemail updated, for example. Go to definition. So there's a list of events. In fact, user interface event or service request events. All the events I care about are here. Voicemail updated, find or reference. So, and I can then listen to that event and make a callback on that event to update my model, to update my user interface. That's what I do. So I'm listening to that request. The request update the model. I just I just update my user interface. Quite I forgot in the command I said, but that's it. Of course, the client, the basic OT REST client is that one, that class, in fact. So that's the root. So it holds all the handler that it supports. Okay. That's all the handler it supports. So it tells, of when connected, it tells the handler when connection is successful to load the data, saying, okay, I've been authenticated, I open a session, it's okay for me, so load the data. And that's it, more or less. Connection disconnect, authenticate phase, start the chunk, and that's it. Okay. And that's it, more or less. The option page is that there. The code. The code is quite huge for that class. But nothing difficult in it. That's all the callback I need on user interface for the events. That's it for me. So I can start it. I've put the latest. There's no delivery. There's no software factory job for that. I did it once, but on a personal server, and I just need to put the .NET on a dedicated slave, Jenkins slave, and that will do the trick. I could reactivate it if you are interested, but I think it is no longer activated. Hold on.
Patrick,
Yes.
you say that this tool used by different team, include support team, and
yes, some people from support use it. Yes.
They just ask you provide this tool.
Well, no, they saw. I made no publicity about that tool. It was mostly internal, mostly for me. Then someone else saw it and they, oh, that's yes, that's okay for me. Could you provide it? I said it is provided as is. So no support. I think I had to have a notice saying something like this. So this is just for testing of the API. I try to keep it. And I put this, it is provided as is, so for internal use. So I'm fine if I'm in good mood to make any feature request, but it's only if I'm in good mood. There used to be a software factory job, so people think, where can I find it? So I started putting it on the Nexus. And then I stopped, and I put it on one of my server. I could change it. Test our tools. Yeah, I put it just on my server somewhere there. So I maintain quite the latest version is 2.3.8. That's the latest version. So it is just a big zip of the binaries, the build directory. It's sufficient for people using it. quite ugly. So this is just a zip. This is what I provide. Okay.
Mhm.
That's it for testing. For testing our REST API. So of course, there's many other ways to do that. You can use simple plugin. The Postman plugin, I think I heard about. Postman is, hold on. I think Michel will talk to you about that. Postman is something like. So that's more or less, yes, Postman. So, you can build requests and play on all the headers, the body, and send up. So it will send you HTTP. So you can store it and replay it later. So it's okay. So I prefer quick click program. There's also what I'm using. Oh, sorry. I used for quite a long time also the HTTP requester, which is that one there. So it's quite basic, but it can do the job for getting things, opening session. With yeah, let's see, authenticate. That is A2. Okay, identify. Then I can open the session. With the application name, submit. Okay, and now I can get whatever I want. Conference, for example, since I created a conference. No conference. I thought I created a conference. Not A2 perhaps. And a few other things. So get, I think, the conlog. Not conlog. This one, conlog. Ah, God. Conlog record. That's it. Okay, that's it for. Do you know these tools? Yes, HTTP requester, Postman, perhaps.
No.
So the great advantage of REST API, it's more or less working in the browser, except that only the get verb is supported. So you just need some small extension to make it work for all the rest, as post, put, delete. So this is one simple version. Postman is a more developer version, as you can play with the content precisely, the header. It has a much more modern look. So my tool can do the job too for some operation. So it's up to you. You can delete. Okay. What else can I say? Visual Studio. That's it, more or less.
Okay.
Do you have any questions? I will try to commit some the last change on this project, which is perhaps switching to Visual Studio 2017, and one or two updates. I can see that I have some. I've seen some checkouts I have on that one. I see on the checkout on where on the voicemail handler. So I can't remember what I've changed recently, but it's one of two changes. I did also on that thing. I did something. There's some statistics of the user. That's the list of the user using the tool. I try to push some statistics on that on one server I have because I want to make sure people using the latest version with the .NET 4.6. So what you see, around 15 people using it approximately. Okay. And that's all I can say on it. Okay. So just a debug if you need it.
Yeah. It's quite complex and useful tool. I think we have to play with tool.
Yeah.
And we definitely will contact with you.
As I said, there's many tools to test REST API, so you're not forced to use that one, but it's working out of the box at the moment. So you can if you want. The advantage of that one is that you have the chunk at the same time, so you have the service and the chunk, so you can monitor any problem, put it in parallel with other clients, for example, and you can see if the server is falling, not send events. So it's a way of keep spying, in fact, the server activity for a user. So you can even log as administrator, for example. Administrator 9. Yeah, I think it's that one. Yeah. So here I have all the logins of all the user monitor on my system. So I can monitor all the user with that. Just to see if you're missing some events. Yeah. We have one breakpoint. Aha. There could be some bugs. Okay. I have nothing else to add on the subject. I have some other tool to test the REST API, which is some bash script using curl, the curl utility. Hold on, I show you. We need to debug REST API or any service behind REST API. My tool is perfect if you can access the server, but sometimes you cannot, so you need to log on the server and so on. So I make some some bash script to be able to invoke the REST services. Hold on. Test. So I made some REST client line interface. So I made that kind of bash script that will support most common REST API operation. So that helps debugging directly on the server if needed. So that can be invoked like this. Okay, hold on. So it's quite basic, but it can be, the advantage is it can be installed on any client having problem to connect. I made this script because VHE, IC Touch, were complaining that they can't access the web service, the Chameleon web service. And it took a long time for us and them to debug the things and finding who is responsible, because we can't find any problem into accessing our web services. So we made some script that could be installed on the VHE, in fact, so that we can access the web service and check that from the IC Touch there was no problem, in fact. So that's the origin, more or less, of that kind of script. So I put more and more feature in it just to test, because for some customer we can't access the platform. So for support, if you provide that script, you just ask them to do the script, to follow some procedure and to give the result of the script, so that's the debugging after. Okay. So this use the script just to set up myself. Okay, then I can authenticate as A2. Okay. Return, no. Oh. Oh, I don't. Oh, should work. Oh, we'll check. Well, sorry, so it should work. So what I can do is create all the basic operation using API. So authentication, opening a session, exactly as I did with my tool, providing an application name or not. You can even subscribe to events. So I will open a chunk. In that case, you need two terminals, two windows. One for the event, one for the service. And then once you are authenticated and have a session open, you can do all the rest operation that will store logs on your server. That's typically the logs I can find in the server. So one cookie file for a user, and then, for example, I ask for details. Oh, that's not the case. Sorry. Yeah, that's all the debugging things. B2 logs, A2 logs. Yeah, that's it. So all the requests you're doing are logged in a file, so you are able to ask after this to the customer or to the technical support, please do this operation and please provide me the logs into the log folder that's under. So that will help debugging and see and ask for more investigation on the problematic side. So I don't know why it's not working. I will add a slide just for that if you think it can be useful or not. And that's it for me.
Patrick, is the script under source control?
This one, yes, not the latest version. This is, yes, good remark, because I now realize I forgot to switch to the slide. And in the slide, I have the last slide on the tools for me. Tools for me, which are, yes, they are under source control. And I'll just show you. Yeah. So that's the last slide I want to show you. So in Camille Infra Tools, there's quite a lot of projects. We are several concerned by project in that folder. Mostly me, Dominique Caudal, who has talked to you this morning, and Jean-Yves Plassard also has some tool in that folder. So I made a slide especially for that. In that folder, you will find the configurator. It's more or less a CMS client for data injection. We used it a long time ago. It's no longer maintained, and it has been the project has been duplicated, forked from several teams, and there's many versions of that kind of tool in all the teams. Then all the event prod is more or less an event bus listener made by Jean-Yves Plassard. We will speak after that, I think. These are very useful things to listen to all the event bus activity. So you can subscribe to any events for one user, for whatever. So it will monitor all the activity. That's one of the big debug session you will need to do with that kind of tool. I think Dominique spoke to you about Hippolyte tool this morning. A kind of
yes, but we haven't finished.
Okay. Yeah. You propose just to continue just after me, so in a few minutes, or is it too late for you?
I'm not sure. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Okay, it's up to you. Yeah. Hippolyte, so that's his tool. I have developed a test server that was installed on the OpenTouch, so it's no longer maintained. Test deployer is just a POM. You switching from profile to deploy some test environment on OpenTouch, no longer maintained. And inside the test helper, there's many things, like a Maven plugin, especially for our test. And you will find the script I just show you in it. So, okay. And the web services is the tool Dominique has made that will automatically parse the WSDL for the SOAP web service to build a graphical tool that is also widely used by for debugging activity. Okay, see if I come back to the test helper, which are where my scripts are. So yeah, that should be REST CLI. That's the script. Okay. The project by himself is no longer used, but the file can be found there. Okay. So that's it. So I have other scripts that help debugging, like things that quickly extract users from database, things that quickly extract comlog from database. I have some few debugging script there. And all things that are no longer used. This is no longer used, just that one and more or less that one. Perhaps a bit that one for me. No, this is no longer used. So only that one and REST CLI. So it's up to you. You can use it or not. It's not, you're not forced. It's depending the case. If other things that can do the job, you can pick it up. And that's it for me today.
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay. I will plan another session tomorrow afternoon. I will check who is available or not, and because it was planned to be mask, but since mask is more or less finished, I will try to put something else this tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay.
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 Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay. Good
Bye.
evening.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you. Bye.